Well, welcome back to Nifty 50 Photographers. In today's video, I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you with your black and white fine art architectural photography. My first tip starts before you even go out to view your subject, really, is do your research. Find out a little bit about the building or buildings that you're going to be photographing. Now, today I've come to Russell Point Tower. Now, this is a tower run by the National Coast Watch, which was set up when a lot of funding was taken away from the Coast Guards. It's built right by the coast. I know it's built in 2013, so it's pretty modern. And you'll see from the structure, it's designed to look like it's leaning into the wind. And you can probably see from the way the grass is blowing that the wind is coming straight in off the sea. And it provides a superb view across Morecambe Bay and the Loon Deep Channel, and any approaches into Fleetwood, Glasson and Heysham, which are the major sort of harbours around here that any shipping might head for. It stands 42 feet above the seafront. But now that you know a little bit about the tower, my second point is you want to try and tell a story with your photographs. But what story do I want to evoke with this? Well, there's a couple of things that spring to mind straight away. One is that the building was designed to look as though it's leaning into the wind, so I want to show that. The second thing is obviously a seafront lookout, so I need to get some of the sea in my image to show that that's what its purpose is. And if I can add to that by perhaps getting a bit of the grass blowing in the wind in the foreground, something like that, that'll help to tell the story of the building leaning into the wind. The other thing I love about it, as I do with a lot of modern architecture, it's got lots of interesting angles, so I can bring out those in my photograph too. So my second tip is really to think about your composition. Now, when I get to a location like this and I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to photograph the building from, first thing I do is walk around. I don't even get my camera out of my bag. I tend to use my iPhone. It's got a good camera. I can set it up to do things like take a square photo, I can take it in portrait and landscape, and I can suss out locations, take a shot of my iPhone and think, does that look good enough or not? And it really helps me to narrow down exactly where I want to take my photo from. I've done my walk around, I've taken these shots on my iPhone and honed in on the location I want. Now, when I get to this point, I literally just fine tune the composition a little bit, move my camera a little bit left or right, only a few inches, and also adjust the height on the tripod as well till I'm totally happy with the composition. I'm setting up the horizon to be a third away from the bottom, so I'm following the basic composition rules. And my third tip about doing black and white stuff is you need to have a lot of contrast. So what we've got here is the building set against the sky, and within the shapes of the building there's also contrast as well. The other thing I'm looking for, and this is tip number 4, is look for textures. I've got this wooden texture in the building. I've also got a little bit of this boardwalk in the foreground, and I've included these grasses and daisies in the foreground as well to create some different textures and make the photograph more interesting and add to my story about the wind. The other thing I'm going to do, as I've been doing with all these kind of photos, is take a long exposure of about 5 minutes. I'm going to need to hang my bag on the tripod just to stop that wobbling because it is such a windy day. Now, the most important thing, which is key in any photograph, is really to think about the lighting. As you can see here, I'm shooting almost straight into the sun. It's near the end of June, the sun's pretty high, so I can get away with that. I think it's also going to add a bit of interesting contrast because I'm going to have a bright area in the top corner when I come to process this. I'm going to shoot the photograph in portrait, but I will probably crop that into a square format when I come to edit it. One of the other things I often do is actually just take a short exposure as well as my long exposure. It's just to allow me, if do get back and find there's a lot of camera shake, then I've got a really sharp image as well to work with to get the outline of the building and things absolutely spot on. Now, the great thing about long exposures, as I mentioned to you once or twice before, is it helps to eliminate anybody who just walks into your shot, even if it's just for a second or two. By doing this long exposure, you completely eliminate those distracting elements from your photo. I hope you've enjoyed that video. This is how my final photograph came out. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I haven't shared my editing process with you today. If you'd be interested in a detailed video about the editing process, do let me know in the comments as well. In the meantime, go and have some fun with your camera, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.